It's just having the right systems in place. And if you don't have the ability to set up the right systems, then guess what? If you have the ways and means, hire a coach.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ways and means, then get a mentor.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much information out there in the World Wide Web. Instead of doom scrolling on your iPhone or your Android phone, guess what? Maybe shut off and unfollow the people that are not encouraging you.
Okay, family, so today's guest is a powerhouse of purpose and perspective. He's a certified life coach, ex-personal trainer, and the voice behind one of Canada's most inspiring podcasts, Mitchell Report Unleashed.
Damn.
Rory has built a platform that champions personal growth, mindset, and unlocking the best version of yourself one conversation at a time. From talking with high performers across industries to dropping gems on discipline and self-awareness, Rory is the real deal. We're diving into the mindset behind his success, his journey as a creator, and what it means to show up consistently, not only online, but in life. Welcome to the show, Rory Mitchell.
Bro, listen, Vaughn, you know, when you say Canada's podcast, like that's gave me the warmth inside. You know what I mean? But we're here today, and I appreciate you. I got to dap you up.
Yes,
Let's
bro.
get this, man. Let's get this.
We here.
Yes, sir.
So I really wanted to get you onto the podcast because I as we were talking before the podcast, I like good energy and good vibrations, and I felt like you always had it to me. I've been watching your podcast and I've been watching your page for a while, you know, and I was like, you know, one day I want to get him on, but I knew that I want, there's certain people that I want in certain times because I think I need more experience before I really start to brush out. Well, as we spoke before, you have 541 episodes.
Yes, sir.
And I am on this might be number 47.
That's fine.
You know, and
You're starting.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just that I knew I needed that experience before I really learned to dive deep into those kind of talks. But I think by the barbershop actually helps me a lot because I talk to people every day. So thanks for coming on.
Bro, come on now. You didn't think I was not going to show up?
I don't know. No, that's joking. I knew
No, here's my thing, man. You know, I like to see creators. I always say this. Creators doing something. At least something. Do something. Whatever your passion is. You cut hair. I seen the podcast. I seen the magnitude of folks that you've had on. Mo Bolden. You know what I mean? Great perspective. Great show. He was on the show, what, twice now?
Twice, yeah.
I love that. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get him to come on my show too because we have to cook and chop up on some stuff, you know? But just keep it going, bro. This is what it's about, man. This strive for some sort of greatness, not perfection. Because like before we hit the record button, we're not perfect.
No, you're not perfect.
You know what I mean? But it's about how you show up is the most important thing.
Exactly. And so I think that's one of the main topics that I feel like we should talk about is the importance of showing up, you know, and the importance of being consistent, especially when the cards, or especially when the ball not in your court, you know?
Well, that's how we're going to start. You know, Kobe Bryant, you know, what was his tagline was always about Mamba mentality. But when you actually extrapolate that Mamba mentality doesn't start unless you have a basketball. So you got to ask yourself is what's your basketball going to be, right? For you, cutting hair. Me, it's podcasting. Right? Now you're making that transition as a podcaster yourself. But I feel like what a lot of people do is they get nearsighted and they don't know their ultimate mission in life. Let's not just talk about the trauma. We've understood. All of us have been through some sort of trauma. But it's like peel entire layers back and ask yourself is who's in my life right now? Right? Because you got to be around positive mindsets that are going to champion accountability and also men and women that are going to just point you in the right direction. Not force you to go in the right direction, but point you in the right direction. Because here's my thing is, right, Vaughn? When I think about my journey for the last 8.5 years in this space, a lot of it was myself, right? But I had the right people along the sides of me. I've had the mentors. I've had the coaching. Lately, I've been posting a lot of Eric Thomas. Dr. Eric Thomas,
Yeah, right.
E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. That's where I got my certification through the life coaching, through extreme execution. So when you look at a lot of what it is that I do, I know what it is I want, and I know how I'm getting there. And I think what a lot of folks tend to do is they get nervous on themselves. They don't want to put the chips down because it's easy to make excuses, but not make those adjustments. So how do you make those adjustments? Number one, what's the first thing we do when we get up in the morning?
For me,
Yeah, what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
wake up my kids.
Okay, you wake up your
Honestly,
kids.
yeah.
Before that, like yourself, what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
You know what? I wish I could say pray and think about my day, but I feel like I'll be lying. Like I do think about it for a little while, but not like after I wake up and put my legs off the bed. You know, like as I'm waking up, I think about my day, and then I would just go and hit the day. And then once I get the kids out the door, or once I get them settled, then I will be like, okay, let me pray and think about this.
Okay, I'll give it to you like this. The first thing we do every time we wake up, we get up out of bed and we go to the washroom, right? That's the first thing we do. When you go to the washroom and if you taking your pee or number 2, you got to look into that mirror and you got to ask yourself, are you happy with the person that it is you are today? And what can you do to change that? Every morning I wake up, I look in the mirror and I say, listen, how I show up today is how it's going to dictate the whole entire momentum of everything. Because there's the external pressures of life that we got to deal with. There's tariffs, there's border this, there's 51st state this. Push all that behind and really focus on who you are. Who's that man and woman? I say it all the time. But I think what people do, they're like, oh, he's just talking. He's just talking. No, I'm speaking about this because I had to show up for myself, right? I made a post on my Instagram the other day. I said it's 2011 all over again. I'm going to give you a little story. 2011 is when I found Eric Thomas. That's when I was 300 pounds, right? Big guy just moving around. And that's what spearheaded the moment for me to get into health and fitness. Start training, start building into that ecosystem. I had to go 1 month, no music, no foolishness on TV. It was simply just Eric Thomas in the ears. And this is when I was working at Apple. So I'd have night shifts where I'd work from 2 to 10. I'd go right across to that gym, put the work in, blood, sweat, tears, right? Take that last bus, that last transit home, right? And that was when I was in, 2000, I was starting 2012. And every single day that was momentum to where it's like a lot of men and women were like, yo, this guy really got it. This guy knows what he's doing. A lot of what I say to people is this when you talk about intention. Are you saying what it is you believe, right? So how I show up is the first thing is I got my group that I talk to. First thing in the morning, that's that message. I'm sending that because guess what? It's because of the thought of care. If I did not care about the people in my life, I wouldn't even bother reaching out to them. But also you got to be able to know how to pull your weight, right? So you got to ask yourself is who's around me? I'll be the first person to say this. If they're not elevating you, get them out.
Definitely.
Get them out. It sounds hard, but get them out, right? Because here's what I've realized in life. As you grow, as you get the reps, as you shed that skin, you can expose people that are around you. And it's not because you're better than them. It's because they've maybe not have gotten to where you've gotten to. What have they been through? And I see it all the time. The same people that I grew up with, if it's like the last 5 years, 10 years, we're not coexisting. Because where I'm going is a journey of graduation where I need the right mindsets that are going to help elevate and support me. Right? That's where you got to look at. You got to really survey that land. Like I tell people this phone here that we got is a tool, but it also is the biggest distraction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right? Look at your last 5 text messages and ask yourself and this is very cliche. You hear a lot of mentors and say this. Are those people there to mentor you? Are those people there to hold you accountable? And if they're not, you need to take this thing and throw it out. You need to find yourself around the right people, right? Because people have men and women in their life right now that check in. And guess what? They don't even know how to show up for them. Because they're not at that place of like healing. They're not at that place of just understanding. And guess what? If you're not sure, you know what the sexiest thing about life is? Ask. Ask. How do you get to where you're at?
Yeah, because that's what I really want. That's a question I wanted to ask from what you just said is like because I know a lot of people say, oh, you have to get the right friends and be around the right people, and it's something that I say too. But how could someone who, okay, let's say someone is growing up in the hood, right, and there's nothing really good around them. You know, they don't have parents who really look out for them. They don't have friends who do see more than what they could see. You know, how does a person put themselves in a situation where they could change the circle, and how do they now forget about the circle that they call family for their whole life?
Great question, because that's actually coming on an upcoming episode, right? By the time this probably comes out, that episode will be out. I'll speak a little long story short. His name's Sosa. He grew up in the UK. Gang violence, groomed by a gang. And what I realized in his story, he had to go through everything he had to go through to then become the man that he is, be that speaker, right? Help mentor the youth, the black youth as well. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is I never grew up in the hood, right? I was more maybe on the outskirts. I know the guys that were in the hood, played basketball, did all that stuff. The thing about it is, and I think I speak from a black perspective here, right? As two black positive men, you have to look at your circumstances, right? And you have to say to yourself is, can I become better? Start, and I know this is going to sound easier said than done, but study the guys. Like, I think, and here's my thing is, I'm optimistic. I'm one to believe this. I think if you start studying the right mindsets at a very young age, you can take the positive out of it. We look at guys like LeBron James. I understand I have my reservations about LeBron as the basketball player, but I can't argue LeBron as a business guy. Michael Jordan, basketball player, business guy. You have to start extrapolating all that information and not be a slave of your mentality, of the mindset and the environment that you're in. Because here's the thing is, it's either one or two things are going to happen in the hood. You're going to end up either in jail or you're going to end up dead.
Or stuck.
What's that?
Or stuck.
Yeah. Right? This podcast here ain't for those people that want to be stuck. Mm-hmm. It's about extrapolating the information out your mind. We have mentors around us. Let's scale it back here. We've got mentors around us. Think about the kids that are in the hood. You don't think they don't go to school? Some of them don't go to school and they don't have a mentor. Some of them play basketball. They have that coach. They have that teacher. Just look at how the universe brings you somebody in your life that's going to pour into you. I've had coaches through high school. I've had coaches through public school, through high school, mentor me. I'll give you this fun fact. His name was our vice principal or principal back in public school, Mr. Rossielli. He looked at my parents in grade 8 after the basketball game. He says, I see Rory going places in sports and a microphone. When you look back at those days, what are we here doing? It's a podcast. It may not be sports, but it's a podcast to help educate any man, woman, or child. So it's like, when you have those little things, don't ignore it. Put it and tuck it and say, yo, okay, when that happened, that was back in the days of the early 90s. You know what I mean? And you just ebbs and you flows with it, right? And I think what happens is a lot of people say is, again, he's just talking, but you got to just know yourself. Know yourself. That's it. Know yourself. I know who I am. I'm not perfect, bro. I know to God I'm not perfect. But what I got to do is the people I show up for, and I will, you can bring them on the podcast. We could call them right now. How does Rory show up? They'll tell you. They'll tell you. Maybe you might spin that question to them. I don't know what the response is going to be. But if you don't have a response for that, and it's not for tit for tat, you then got to ask yourself is, well, fuck, if I'm not showing up for him, is he going to continuously keep showing up for me? Yeah, because that's all I know. But as you pour in one cup, you got to be able to pour in the other cup. Because if this was a scale that we had here and I pour water in and all of a sudden the scale just keeps going up and up and up and there's emptiness, what's going to happen? Eventually I'm going to get tired.
Yeah. So how do you discern authenticity? Authenticity?
Authenticity?
Yeah,
Yeah.
authenticity. That's a weird word, but yeah. So how do you discern when somebody being authentic, or when somebody just here to be a leech?
Patterns.
Yeah.
Patterns don't lie. Let me tell you something. Maybe this is the coach in me that's going to turn on now. You can't turn off the coaching mindset. So when you see someone is willing to try and they ask the right questions, that's when I can know, okay, that person wants to learn something. But then you have the ones, say for instance, let's just go friends. It's all just talking about the same mindless bullshit, right? I don't care to talk about the Kardashians. I don't care to talk about what this person and that person doing. What are you doing in your life?
Small talk.
You see what I'm saying?
It's a good thing you bring that up, because I remember when I just started going through not this recent journey, but my journey before, where like I was now opening the barbershop, and like I was starting to realize that there was more to life than just partying. And I remember talking to my friends there. We would all be at this apartment, and eventually one of the girls looked at me and say, Vaughn, why every time we hang out, it has to be like a deep conversation? You know, but we can't just talk about regular stuff. You know, and that's when I realized I was kind of outgrowing my circle. You know, but I don't think I would have realized that if I wasn't paying attention to who I wanted to be.
And that's the thing. That's the number one sign. Here's my thing is, you'll know if you're outgrowing a person because they'll make these little comments. Why does everything got to be about growth? Do you not want to be successful in your life? Now, mind you, success is not all about money, but do you not want to simply be better of yourself? It's like, I got guys in my life right now. We may not talk all the time. One of my friends in Indianapolis, we'll talk maybe every 6 to 8 months. This is how it is. It's always been like that from high school. We always learn new things. Every conversation you have with a person, can you extrapolate and can you learn something new? But I'll also argue a lot of people are not intentional when they're listening, when they hear that. So it's like, when you're on the phone, can you be present? Are you on the phone listening, talking, but then maybe you're scrolling on social media to see what's going on? A lot of people got to take this and they got to simply mute their notifications, do not disturb, and really start connecting. Because what's going to happen with connection, right? I'll give you an example. You're married. You and your wife, I'm pretty sure you have amazing times and there's not so many great times. But how do you all simply sit here and connect?
How do we connect?
How do you connect? Not me putting you on the spot now.
No. I'm like, oh, we connect. We mean physically connect? Or
Brethren, what y'all talk about? Make the West Indian come out in me today.
Nah, let's joking. Bro. Okay, so there's something that I tell my wife all the time. Well, a lot of the times, and like I'll fix her lunch to go to work.
Okay.
And she'll be like, oh, thanks for fixing my lunch. And I'll tell her, I promise God that I'll take care of you. So I'll take care of you. You know, it don't matter what happened, and if we have issues, like
we all do.
Exactly. But I feel like the way we connect is that we just know that we can't leave, bro. You know, there's no such thing as leaving. So then what? Then now you have to communicate, you know? Me, myself, I grew up with a mom who we never tell each other we love each other, but she shows it in every way.
Oh, brother, let's go. Let's talk now.
Yeah.
Now we pardon.
Exactly.
We pardon.
So if I tell my mom, I love you, she'll be like, what you want, boy? And she's joking, but she knows, and she always will be like, yo, I teach you guys to show somebody that you love them based on your actions and showing up for them.
Not the fucking words.
No, not the words. And that's why for me when I came to Canada it was so weird, because people would see and say, yo, I love you. You know, and it's like, oh, I love ice cream. Oh, I love this guy. Oh, I love this area. And it's like, oh, you love everything then. Yeah, what is reserved then? You know? So like my kids now, they'll be like, oh, I love this song. It's like, oh, you're gonna die for it? You would die for this song? It's like, no, well, okay, so that's not what love is. You know, I know that most people might say that I'm being extreme, but love's supposed to be a reserved word. So for me and my wife, when I know we're going through something, I know about the promise that I made to her, but most of all, the promise I made to God. And I fear the promise I made to God more than the promise I made to her.
All right.
And that is what brings us together. And I understand that as a leader, you first a servant, you know? And if I don't serve, then I can't lead.
Facts. I said this. Actions speak louder than words, and I want to make sure we clear this up for the audience. I'm not saying that you can't look at your man or your woman and say you love them. You're supposed to do that, but it's about how you show up, because really at the end of the day, love is really just an emotion.
Exactly.
It's an emotion. But what a lot of folks get confused is that the respect factor is not there, and about how you speak about your mother. I'm West Indian also too. You're Trinidadian. I'm Jamaican. Love is present in the household, but it's about how you show up with it. Are you asking the right questions? Are you, like, I'll tell you this, man, like, if more people just check in, there's a lot they can learn, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot you can learn. Because us men, we may not always tell the people in our life what's going on, because we have that way to compartmentalize. Ask those right questions, right? Any lady that's listening to this, any man that's listening to this, just really just dig in and just ask those questions, because there's a lot that will come up and there's a lot that you'll learn. You know how I know someone's paying attention? Is that this is a podcast and this is an exercise. When you're talking to someone in the presence, it could be FaceTime or it could be in person. If they shift themselves to you, that means they're ready, they're attentive. If they're kind of like distracted, looking around, that's when you know. Eye contact tells me everything I need to know about a person. Eye contact. And some people can't look you in the eyes because they're intimidated. Some people are just like, this is the third time. And I'm just like, what's going on? I'm not going to bite. But it says, lock in. Lock in. Vaughn, we have all the resources in this world. I look here, you have 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You've got the Jay Shetty book. I can't read upside down. It says, Think like a monk, right? We have all of the same resources, but we never want to use them. Because guess what? It's the work we got to put in. It's the work we got to put in. There's 24 hours in a day. Majority of us sleep for what? 6 to 8 hours. We go to work for another 6 to 8 hours. That's 16 hours in total. You got to think about commuting. Commuting can be between 30 to 45 minutes, right? If you follow along, we have limited time and limited space. But what we have to do is extrapolate a lot of this time and space, right? Sometimes, man, I say this again, social media is a great thing, right? I use it, you use it. But there's a time where we got to take social media and put it down.
Yeah.
Put that social media down to be able to know how to connect.
Definitely.
Right? Because I'll tell you this right now. I had to put things down. I'm going to give you an announcement. A lot of people don't even know this. 8.5 years of podcasting, right? I had to put a lot of things down to really look at what the podcast could be, because I knew I was close to that goal. And the goal is monetization. And I just hit that a month and a half ago. So being fully out monetized is because I can't be simply doing mindless activities on my phone. I got to simply sit here now, look at this thing as a business, look at every single guest, every single post that I'm doing, and make sure it fits into the motion. So when I saw the monetization, I saw everything come through the email, I didn't say much to people, because I said, you're not going to understand it. Because you think when I say put the phone down, it means put it down and not do anything. It means put it down and get to work.
Yeah.
Right? Put it down and get to work.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Congrats, by the way.
You know?
And going based off of your, like what you was just saying with putting your phone down, and this is one of the biggest issues I have with trying to do content, is that most of the times that I should be recording, I just live in the moment, bro. it's like when I'm with my kids, like I see people on Instagram all the time. They go like do things with the kids and they be recording but once I'm doing something that I want to do, my last thought is to record. Only after it's done, then I'm like, oh, I should have recorded that. That might have been kind of cool. You know, like even like doing this, like we also have enough full conversation before that could have been a next episode.
Facts.
You know, but like when you end that moment, to me, I feel like the moment is way more important than the phone. Like I remember this one time, there was a picture of, I think it was the Queen, and there was a guy with a phone and a lady watching with the eyes, and there was a debate about it, and some people were saying the guy with the phone get a picture that he could always look at, and it's like, yeah, but the woman the woman without the phone got to embask in the moment and really be there. You know, the most beautiful things that we could see can't be captured, bro. You could take a picture of the nicest sunset and it wouldn't look the same as you looking at the sunset and feeling it and hearing the birds in the background and feeling the wind, you know, and seeing you had a long day. There's so much emotion that goes into presence that a picture could never communicate for people. And that's what, so that's for me is one of the hardest things is knowing that, or when I'm in the presence of something, I don't care about what people think and what people see. You know, that's my last thought.
I'll say this, it's about time management as well. And a lot of folks they may not have the concept of time, because time's, you hear the old cliche thing, they talk about West Indian time, right?
Yeah.
When we say 11 o'clock, we'll freaking show up at like 1, right? But here's the thing about time management. If you actually know your calendar, and this is another thing, like, here's my thing with your audience, my audience, right? I'm not saying this to expose people, but I can tell you how a person's day is set up just by 2 things. 1, do they know how to look into their calendar? And the second part of it is, do they have a calendar activated? You may even have a planner. Some people like the pen and paper or pencil and paper. But what is your calendar looking like? If I say to you, yo, are you free on May 24th? And you said, I don't know. I just call it donezo. Because you know what I'm waiting to hear? Let me check my calendar. Let me check my calendar. I may have something going on. Let me check this. And if you don't check your calendar, good luck. You're done. So how I accumulate all my hours back? So 1, I work from home. The second part of it is I batch record a lot of my stuff. So I was just actually saying this the other night to someone. I said my May's already accounted for. And a lot of people are like, wait a minute, your May's accounted for. All my episodes are already done. Because I don't do time sensitive content. Now, there could be a chance that there's an episode that may have to come out before a certain episode. It's just life, right? Depending on what's being promoted, things that's being talked about. But what I say to folks is that look at your time that you have. We are very limited in this space, right? 5 years ago was pandemic, COVID, right? Now we extrapolate those 5 years. What did you learn from pandemic to when we came out and the world was open to now where do you see the world's going? And I think what a lot of folks need to do is really understand the process of time management. Know that, guess what? Yes, you have to work. You got to pay for the roof over your head. You got to put the food on the table, all this stuff. Pay for the vehicle or transportation or doing whatever you're doing. But you also have to ask yourself is, how can I accumulate all my hours back? Mm-hmm. Right? Are you sitting here watching Netflix when you get off of work? You're not going to get anything done. So don't complain and say, well, I was supposed to plan this destination travel, but you know, my face and my time and my energy's poked into Netflix. Yeah. That should be a treat, right? It's like in health and fitness. You know what I mean? Everything should be within moderation. But just again, you see how people even serve their food on their plate. They don't know how to structure out the portion control. Everything just heaped on and then I just eat until I'm full. What? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like have just a sense of, again, discernment. like when we came before we started recording this, and just understanding what it is you want. Again, I'm saying this not as somebody that's perfect, because I'm not perfect, but I know what it is that I want.
Yeah. So 2 things.
Talk to me.
The first thing I would say is that from a lot of people out there who trying to figure out like the whole the time management thing. Mm-hmm. One thing that I did was, instead of even paying 24 hours on the day, I calculated it by the week.
Okay.
So I multiply all my hours by the week. And let's say 40 hours you work, you know. I can't do, I think it was 1 something hours, I can't remember. Right? So you have the whole week, 40 hours is to work, how much hours to sleep, you have to multiply all. So if you group all your hours for the week, now you could say, okay, I could have this night where I could just watch movies all night. And you could do that. As a treat, you could do that. Right? But it's all allocated for in the week, you know? And I also tell people, instead of celebrating New Year's Eve and having a plan, it's like, oh yeah, this New Year's Eve, we have this New Year's resolution. It's like, have it every week, bro. Every week is a new week. Why not celebrate every week? Why not celebrate every new day? You know?
Vaughn, you said something that was so important there, because it even goes to this week. It's a Monday that we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
I know I got to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I know once we're done out of here, I go to the gym, and then I have a podcast that I'm doing, right, at 5:30. That's my rest of my week. I don't have any other recordings. There's other stuff that are going on, but it's like half an hour here, maybe 45 minutes here, right? This conversations, things like that. But I've already said, I'm like, next Saturday, I'm going to go take myself to go watch the new Marvel movie, Thunderbolts, right? Yeah. Maybe now I'm looking at it because now I'm like, Saturday, I feel like there's some sports stuff going on. So I'm like, I might have to push that to Sunday because I have the flexibility to do it. You know what I mean? Plus Sunday's Mother's Day. So it's like all that other stuff. But it's like, I can go watch a movie, you know, right at like 11:30, 12, and then do the Mother's Day stuff. You know what I mean? And do all that other stuff and whatnot. But it's like just setting up standards in your life. And this is where it goes back to the human beings and the human concepts. If you got like, okay, it could be a friend, a business partner, someone in your network, or that relationship. If you have someone that's strong, shows up strong in that presence, why in the world are you not at least saying like, bruh, I need to learn something from this person, from he or she? You got to just learn it. Because if you're going to consistently make these excuses, you're not going to show up. And the thing is it a fear? I have a fear of water, but I'm conquering that this year. After all these years, back when I was whatever age I, almost drowned.
Yeah. Wait, and for the record, it's all of us.
Yeah.
It's all of us.
I love it.
It's all of us. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to conquer that fear this year. But it's like, be around. And I'll say this to folks again, man. I don't know. I'll look at the camera. Like, be around people that are going to force you to level up. Mm-hmm. Force you to level up. That could be, it doesn't have to also be about finances, right? Depending on where you're at. But it's like, be around someone that's going to be like, if you're in a relationship today, babe, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. It's like, you know what? Maybe you don't want to go to the gym. Maybe you're not the biggest active person who wants to go to the gym, but you can go for walks.
Yeah.
Or get a gym membership and just walk on the treadmill, incline. As a trainer, I can tell you can lose weight, right? The biggest thing that I speak to is we don't even prioritize our own health.
No.
So if the body ain't healthy, how's the mind going to be healthy? And if the mind's not healthy, then how in the world are you going to have healthy people around you? When you peel all those layers back, it all comes into the big ecosystem. I'm pretty sure if your wife walked in here right now and said 10 burpees, you're going to have to do them, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If she said, give me 10 push-ups, you're going to do them, right?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. If she said 100 squats, you're going to do them, right?
Not at once, maybe, but as much as I could do, I would try my best.
Okay.
And by the end of the day, she will have 300 squats, though.
300 squats? I love that.
She'll have
But you know what you just said there? And it's to bring it back into the conversation. You said you'll try your best. It means you're open to doing it. You don't come from a jaded reality where I'm not going to do it. It's a hard no. Just do it. Be uncomfortable. I had a guest they came on the podcast. Her name's Chelsko, right? We did a virtual conversation. And she goes, we were talking about dating relationships. And she said, she said something about uncomfortable calm. When you have uncomfortable calm, a lot of people don't know what to do with that. They're like, what the hell? Like, it's good to be uncomfortable in certain situations. Because if you have chaotic environments, what are you going to do? You're just going to be chaotic. I hate this. I hate that. And you're just going to just be like, fuck. No, be around an uncomfortable calm that's going to say, yo, let's get to what we need to get to.
Okay, so let's do a little role play.
Let's get it.
Not in the biblical sense.
Let's get it.
I am who I am right for now. Let's say 30, 35, or soon to be 35, kids. I have a job. Let's say the job is construction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I work like 60 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start to do more with my life because I know that something is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my friends are in construction, and after work, all they want to do is that they want to go home and they want to go drink, or you know, there isn't much happening there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
How do I allocate time, or how do I even find the energy or the space to meet new people that might be like-minded and to take me to a better place?
Live coaching sessions. Let's get it. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to say to you is, how many kids do you have?
3.
What's their ages?
12 to 2.
Okay. Are you married, girlfriend, long-time committed relationship?
Married. We could say married.
Okay. What does your wife do?
Nurse.
Okay.
Nurse.
So how many who gets up the first? Who's the first person to get up in the household?
Well, I wake up because I have to wake up and go to work, right?
Yeah. What time do you start work?
7.
Okay. What time do you go to bed?
I try to go to bed early, but most times I go to bed at like 12.
Okay. That's right. There's the problem. Going to bed at 12, I get that. I get the spirit of everything. So you have your kids, you have your wife, and then you have your own time. Here's where things get tricky, because as a trainer, I would see this as well, where a lot of folks wouldn't want to come to the gym at the evening time. So what they had to do is this: force themselves to go to bed early. Here's the thing: is this, we have the most time that we can actually give back to ourselves. It just means getting up early. It means you got to go to bed early, but get up early. So your bedtime, if that's the profession that you're in and you want to be at your most optimal performance, you got to be going to bed at least by 9:30, and you got to force yourself to get up by. Eric Thomas said it the best: 3:00 in the morning. I understand that's not for everyone, but you got to get up by like 4 to try to get to that gym by 4:30, 5 o'clock. At least put in that half an hour, that 45-minute workout, to then shower and then be able to go do the construction. But then again, it's like, you're going to shower, but then you want to feel fresh for your job. But then it's like, depending on the workout that you're doing, if you know you're not sweating a lot, you're still going to sweat when you're at construction, right?
Yeah.
And you're outdoors. So it's kind of like, it all depends on what you want to do, but it's about how you got to go to bed early.
So, but the thing is that like, I know how to go to bed. I should go to bed ideally at like 9:30, 10.
Mm-hmm.
But my kids go to bed by 8.
Okay.
You know, 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes if we have late, then it might even push to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So then, but that wouldn't give me any time, and then my relationship with my wife would start to corrode because we wouldn't be spending time with each other.
That's wrong. See, you said your relationship is going to put a strain. You said corrode, not necessarily. Because if you both are a tag team, you both can actually hold each other accountable, going back to the conversation. Because here's the thing is this: it all comes down to the space that you hold, right? She may not want to work out, but you know what, babe, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable that, you know what, we go to bed at a certain time. Because she's feeling the strain as well. You're not the only one that's feeling the strain. I know nurses. You work a 7-hour shift. No, sorry. You work a 12-hour shift. Right? So you may work 7 to 7. You come home. Yes, you want to be around the babies and all that. I know people are hitting the screens like, he's crazy for saying this, but you gotta set up systems in place. You gotta go to bed early, man. And you got to be able to say, babe, this is what's happening. You know what? I want to get to the gym. I'm not saying you got to come with me, but 9 times out of 10, if that's your goal, if that's the 1, the 3, and the 5, and you're the 2, the 4, and the 6, y'all are going to be head to head with that. You feel what I'm saying? Because here's where it comes down to a dynamic of relationship. Someone will be able to simply sit here and get the kids ready and get them off to school, right? It may not be you, but we all have days off. It's having those communication patterns, but communicating with yourself. So if you go to bed early and you start your day with the right intention, you get to that gym by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you get to work and you come home, you have time to do that. And you have the weekends because you're not working on the weekends.
Yeah.
The wife now may be working on the weekends because she's a nurse, but that's how you can get all that time back. That's when you can get those family time where you can go to the movie or go to the park or do this or drop them off at activities. I think what we do, right, in life is we put too many things above what it is we got to do. But we just have to extrapolate all that information. It's not hard because any mentor, any coach is going to tell you the exact same thing, what I just said. It's about you got to pinpoint what can I do without, right?
And I think actually, as you say, that make a lot of sense because it also go back to what I was saying before with if you multiply by the week. If you do 60 hours a week, right? But if you see that every day you think about 12 hours a day and it's stressed. You know, but if you think of 60 hours a week, then it's like, okay, well, I have all this other time to allocate to different places, especially on the weekend, right? So, yeah.
And just make that time, make that space for yourself. It's okay. Like, we're not like, there's times where life gets busy, right? I don't want to incriminate myself too much here, but you work jobs and you'll have your leadership will say to you, oh, how was your weekend? And I look at them, I say, I don't have weekends. All through life for the last 8.5 years, I don't have weekends. I get my Sundays, I get my Mondays off. The folks that will know is what am I doing? I'm either at a networking situation or I'm recording content. I use all my time that it is I have, right? And the people can say is it's true. I don't get days. I don't take like, oh, it's a weekend. Let me put my feet up and let me go play PS5. PS5s now is a treat.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a treat. Now, if there's a single player game that comes out and I got to carve out the time, then you know what? Maybe I work extra. Grand Theft Auto 6 got delayed. So guess what? I can't just simply anticipate in Grand Theft Auto 6.
No, right.
But just know, it's like, let me set up everything that it needs to get to do what it is I need to do. It's just having the right systems in place. And if you don't have the ability to set up the right systems, then guess what? If you have the ways and means, hire a coach.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ways and means, then get a mentor.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much information out there in the World Wide Web. Instead of doom scrolling on your iPhone or your Android phone, guess what? Maybe shut off and unfollow the people that are not encouraging you. Follow the right mentors. You have guys like Jay Shetty. You got guys like Dr. Eric Thomas. You got guys like Gary Vee, Lewis Howes, Ed Millett. You have all these different people you can go extrapolate information from.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do it. You rather simply sit here and still talk about the Kardashians and their show that's coming out next week.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? A lot of this stuff, though, it's distractions. It's distractions. I'm guilty. Like, we were talking about Shannon Sharp's situation, you know? But it doesn't overconsume us. We're not spending like hours on end. Well, what's Shannon going to do? What's this going to do? What's that going to do? The podcasters that are out here talking about that, it's because we're making money off of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's about finding what's going to work for you and how are you going to get there. And if you're not sure, my God, people, just ask. Ask.
I think that's the hardest thing for people to do, right? Is to ask for help. But I think asking for help is something that you have to like learn. You actually have to train yourself to ask for help. You know, you have to train yourself to accept accountability. Like even with my kids now, like last night, my daughter was playing on her iPad and her iPad fell and hit over her cup of water. And I'm like, oh, Jada, you need to be careful. She says, it's not her fault. Her iPad fell. I was like, so who threw on the iPad? He's like, yeah, but it's not my fault. I was like, no. If your first step is to be accountable, You're not in trouble. She started crying. I'm like, no, don't cry. There's no need to cry. Your first step is to be accountable. Okay, how it happened? It's because of me. It don't matter if you didn't make this move, this would never happen. And now we can move on.
Accountability.
But don't look at me in my face and say it wasn't my fault. That's not true. It was your fault. You're not in trouble for it. But we actually have to teach our kids accountability. And again, back to my mom, is something that she always taught us. She always taught us accountability. She taught us how to serve before she could tell us how to lead. I remember when she had her business, she started her business, and I went to get a job. And the first job she gave me was handing out flyers for the business. Talk about shame. Bro, I just finished high school, bro. I graduated from high school. And imagine you graduated from high school and you're working in the mall handing out flyers. All your friends who go to university and have better jobs seeing you handing out flyers. The shame and the make yourself feel so small. And the only time I ever got a better job was when I was happy handing out flyers. Then she's like, okay, now you're ready to do something, to move on. Because for years I was like, yo, what do I do to move on? How come my other brother gets to get this nice job in the office? He's coming, driving a car, giving me flyers, have me looking like I need a job,
Mm-hmm.
And that also taught me both accountability and that service is the first line of leadership.
Facts. Here's the thing it's about, you speak to how our growing up as kids, how it shapes us, right?
Right.
What was enlisted into us by our parents or by the situations we may have faced. And a lot of folks don't know how to grow from that, right? They don't know how to grow from that. And the thing is that I understand, like, sometimes we get dealt these bad hands in life, but stop dwelling on that. You have the ability to change that. You can change that. And I always say is if you see something reoccurring keep coming up in your life, it's for you to learn from that, right? It's about learning from that situation. And accountability, I get it. It's not with everyone. A lot of folks still can't handle that. They can't handle the mirror being shined on them. I'll challenge anybody. They can clip this up right now. Tell me where there's a time where Rory has not shown accountability. You can't. You can't unless you're gonna nitpick on something. But 9 times out of 10, how I show up for myself is how I'm gonna show up for whoever's in my life. Right? As long as it's consistent, you're gonna see how I show up. Because the thing is, accountability is just even showing up, but showing up and being present. Showing up and being there. You say you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your ability.
Definitely. So, were you always this positive person, or was it something that you had to work on?
Oh, you want to get deep now. He wants to get deep now. You know what? For me, it was... I could speak to it being that I have a low tolerance for mediocrity.
Right.
Right. And what I learned through life is this, right? You're going to have ups and you're going to have downs, right? But there's got to be something that's going to spark a change inside of you. It could be that experience. This is where I could speak to where it's having low vibrational mindsets around you. And I've openly spoke about this on the podcast where you date someone that maybe didn't have the same vision as you in the early years before podcasting. But it could have been when I had a blog at the time. And watching someone mock and jeer and say, oh, you're just going to can kick and you're going to do this. And I said, okay, cool. So I start betting the chips on myself. If you're not going to support what it is I'm doing, I'm going to bet on myself. And that's where I spoke to being 300 pounds, going into the gym, Eric Thomas. That was the deciding moment where I said it's going to take the blade and the leather strap for me to keep sharpening this. And everyone that has come on into this journey, they will either get that. You will either see that Rory's either going to be a freight train that's going to run over you if you don't want to step up. And 9 times out of 10, that's in all areas. That's in networking. Because I can identify the blind spots with networking. I can know when someone's being opportunistic. You know, when it comes down to friendships, a lot of your friends don't see what it is that you're doing and they either want to support it, but that's okay. You keep going anyway. Then you look at those relationships that you date with certain people. I'm not talking about getting to know someone. Like you're just schmoozing on Hinge or whatever the hell the cool kids are using these days. But it's actually like sitting down and seeing if this person can coexist with you. You see what I'm saying? And you realize a lot of folks can't. Because what they do is they're too nearsighted. What they do is they put what you do ahead. They don't realize that, well, wait, I met this person doing this. Why don't we coexist in the same space? And the reason why is because a lot of folks shrink their potential. They see this. There's no ceiling with me. There's no ceiling. I rip the ceiling off. There's this, the sky's up there. We can both get to the same level. But if you're going to think small, we're going to operate small, right? If you're going to think low, you're going to think low. And that's the reason why I say is silent rivers run deep, right? Silent rivers run deep. As I simply keep going and I keep taking that blade and taking that leather and I keep sharpening it, success leaves clues. You hear David Goggins say this, success leaves clues. Get into that mind of that individual and say is, what makes him operate like this? There's got to be something there that makes him click differently. Because I can see it in certain people. I know the ones that I talk to, right, that are in better successful entities, other podcasters, and you can see it. The blade is sharp. So I start learning from them guys. Or you see those mentors, you start learning from them, right? The blade has to consistently stay sharp. Because what happens if you don't keep something sharp? It's going to get dull. And then what happens? You can end up getting cut by something that's, you know what I mean? You know this as a barber.
Yeah.
Do you want to be cut by something that's extra sharp or something that's dull? You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
There you go, right? But with all what I'm saying here is that in life, I had to know who was good from who was great, who wasn't this no longer. That's the reason why you hear Eric Thomas say is, when you have good in your life, you don't ask what's wrong with it, you ask what's right with it. And that's a motto that I take. When you got good in your life, look at it, understand it, pay attention, and listen, and ask the questions. Don't ask questions that's going to be like you're trying to create or cast judgment, but ask questions that you could potentially learn from that person. Because it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. If you see them being very reserved in their life and you don't hear them say a lot, that should tell you something. That tells you that they're in their mind, right? And when you're in your mind, you hear Bruce Lee. I don't know if you've seen that black and white. It says, be like water. Mm-hmm. Water can flow or water can crash. Sometimes when Rory shuts his mouth, it's because Rory's observing what's going on. I have my own stuff I'm going on, but I'm observing to process, to think. Because I got to see is, if this person was to ever have a deep dive conversation with me, are they ready for that information that's going to be carried back to them? Because the information I'm going to give you is an information to set you up for long-term success if you're wanting to listen, not be defensive about. I understand not everybody I can save on this journey. But if I've got this far from the tutelage of the information that's been I've seeked from, or even better yet, my grandfather I speak about a lot, where he's no longer here. He talks about possession versus position and how he took people underneath his wing when he was a district constable in Jamaica. And then I've seen like what other people were saying. Then that tells me that, guess what? I'm on the same mission that he was on. And he got to where he needed to get to. And he did what he needed to do for his daughters. He needed to do what he needed to do for his sons, for his wife. Provision. How do you provision that sense of leadership? Because it has to come from a place of love. And that's why I say to folks is that sometimes in life, to put everything in this one, you got to have acceptance inside of here, inside of your heart. If you don't got love in your heart, you can't spread love other places. There could be people that listen to this podcast right now, and they may hate what's being said, because they shut it off because they're nearsighted and they're not ready to get this and grasp this concept. That's fine. That means it's not for you right this time. But the thing is, with this ecosystem that we have, you have the ability to lock it in at that time you want to get to it and say, hey, listen, I want to become better. I said again, Vaughn's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I try to show up the best way I can in life. And that's something that you can never deny. So that's where that comes from, my friend.
Yeah, that was powerful. And you said so much things inside that one, right? But one thing that really stood out to me is you said success isn't about money. And I agree with you 100%. I think that it's something that isn't taught as much as it should be, especially with Instagram and everybody seeing everyone going to Dubai and everything else, you know? And we kind of overlook the, you know what I mean? But we kind of overlook the people that do success every day. So could you talk about that? Could you talk about that, like success not being monetary?
Money? Yeah, for sure. You know, I'll speak to the podcast. Because that's the baby. That's the bread and butter. You know what I mean? And you've seen this through. You go through different mics, different setups. I remember the day. I remember the days, bro. Sitting in another bedroom, projecting the microphone to the clothes, and using a Bluetooth speaker to connect with some of my guests on FaceTime audio. That's how I knew about FaceTime audio, the clarity of it, because you could not really do it with the mobile service. And being on Wi-Fi, to where it then extrapolated to 2021. It's 21 or 22. I had a guest come on the show, Laura D. Benedetto. She's out of Florida. And she goes, I'm not doing this podcast until you turn on your camera. I'm sitting here like, Vaughn, I'm like, what? You're a guest coming on my show and you're telling me how I'm supposed to do what I need to do? But it ideated an idea, which led to when we were back shut down again. I was talking to a coworker and we were in the store and I said, I'm going to have David Meltzer, big money guy, come on the show. He goes, what? You can have David Meltzer. Those were incremental steps of success to then allow me to get the guys like the Cam Specs, the Mario Armstrongs, the Sean Anthonys, shout outs to Jed and Jade, who's come on the podcast, to a laundry list of other folks. I don't brag. I don't champion my wins the way I need to. Because if I did, I think a lot of folks would either do one of two things. They would either hate on you for it, or they would celebrate you in such a way. What I'm basically trying to say to folks is this. You got to walk a long road before you start seeing that monetary gain. I've seen the brand deals come through. I've done the sponsorship packages. I've paid a lot of money into my development in life. Thousands of dollars. But it's the money I had to pay out to get the information to get in that I can bring the information back out again. You see what I just did there? Right? So the money will come.
Say it one more time, because I do think everybody might get it.
Right? I love this guy. It's the information I had to pay information to get, right? To then get it inside of myself, to then disperse that information back out.
So the money that you spent was way more impactful in your life than the money that you made.
Your money that you make. Because here's what I'm going to say here. When you get on this journey of, if it's, let's speak to the barbershop, podcasting, you know, as long as you have a mic or you have a great talent with a skill set of writing, it will come within time. But what folks do is they end up quitting when it gets to that point of life where you get so close. When you get so close. Bro, there's times where I deal with stuff in a 9 to 5 where I'm like, what tornado am I in? But you know what I realized? I said, listen, that pays for the roof over the head, that puts the money, and put the food on the table, and that helps build the brand, build the podcast. To the point now where I'm like, being monetized, and I know that's going to be a slow burn itself, because now I have to structure now how the content's going to look. What I'm saying is that you got to put out a lot of money out on yourself, but it will come in time. It's going to come. It's going to come. We're going to have a different conversation years from now, right? I understand we're not promised tomorrow. I'm not trying to be morbid here, but there's going to be a conversation where I can tell you this right now. You speak to Dubai. It could be potentially where me and you are sitting in Dubai having a recap conversation of what I just said here. It's not manifestation. It's trying to tell people, it's like, listen, I know what it is I want, and nothing's going to stand in my way. Because you know what it all comes down to? The two most important things in my life is being Black and protecting my last name. Mm-hmm. Right? Protecting my last name. And that's between mom and dad's both last name. Because there's a lot of sacrifices they had to make for me. Mother's side, I speak about my grandfather. And guess what? He's someone that had to pass the tutelage down, right? To where I look at my dad, right? Knowing how proud of that man. We talked the one time. We were just chatting. I said, some opportunities coming up on the podcast. And he's not much of a speaker, but he goes, okay. And I can hear the excitement. I can hear that excitement. What I'm trying to say to folks is, listen, there's people out here, man. We just got to make sure we just, like, if my mom and dad, like, I'll keep it real. They've made sacrifices for me to get me to where I'm at here today. And I owe them everything. So when I get that first YouTube check, whatever it is, just know, mom, hold this. Dad, hold this. That's what we're doing this for. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're supposed to be doing in life, is you give back to the people that have poured into you.
Yeah, don't prove them wrong, prove them right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Prove them right, because they know. Mm-hmm. They know. It's going to be nice when you get to that point in time where maybe, guess what? The YouTube, it's kicking off, it's doing what it needs to do. And that can fly me to different places in the world, right? Or it's like, whoever is in my life, I can simply sit here and say, hey, this is what we're going to do here. We're going here. We're doing this. That's when you start believing into that. Oh, damn, he said he's going to do all of this, and he's going to do it. And guess what? I said again, I'm not perfect. But you know what? I have it set up in a way to get me where it is I need to get to. And I'll say this to anybody. Just bet on yourself. Whatever camera I'm looking at, bet on yourself. But make sure you have the right environments that are going to encourage you to get there. Right.
And as you say that, and I know we be running on time, but as you say that, what really stood out, as you said that, I want to also say that the key words to me was to bet. The second key word was money. Well, the key phrase is money out equals money in.
Yes.
And this is two things that most people don't really take into consideration, especially less, even if it's like small business a lot of the times, like the amount of money that you spend on yourself does determine how far you could go, because you have to, I say all the time, why does McDonald's still pay for commercials? Everyone knows who's McDonald's, but they understand the concept of money out, and betting on yourself. Well, what it really means to bet on yourself. When it comes to betting on yourself, if you have a lot of money and you spend a lot of money on yourself, I don't think that's betting on yourself, because it's not a sacrifice. Spend a lot of time. That's where the bet could be. Or if you have a lot of time, spend a lot of money. Though you had to spend your whole check, but you had to see it as there's so much people who have a dream and they want everybody else to invest in the dream when the dream is at the bottom. I shouldn't say this when the dream just starting.
I'll say this. There's some skillful people that I know right now that if they actually bet on themselves, they could change their situation. But the thing is, they got to see it. And how you got to see it is by someone that's going to encourage you with it. And I understand, like, heck, I've done this podcast. There's been a lot of people I've spoken to. Like, they've come and they've gone. They didn't believe in the vision. Well, that doesn't mean that they're your people. They're not your people. But those same people will return. They're going to return. And they will return. They'll return in such a way like, oh, I believed in Vaughn's vision. I believed in Rory's vision.
Yeah.
I believed in you. No, you didn't. Because to believe in someone, you got to be there side by side. Not in front, not behind, side by side. Because that's how you get to where you need to get to, right? When a man and woman, or whatever your orientation is, and they get married, you don't see whoever in front and the other one in the back. It's side by side.
Yeah.
So why can we not present these concepts in life? Side by side.
Yeah, but because some people are like those little fishes that be swimming on the whale's back. You know? Just there for cover. You know? But the whale might feel like that's his buddies, right? But they're just there for cover, and that's it all goes back to the talk of discernment, bro. You know, and understanding which people actually want to see you do good and which people just there in case. You know, so it's like there are people in your life that will just be there and they will be like, some people might even share your posts with no one again. You know? But they're just there in case. You remember that one time? But they know that behind closed doors, there was bad talking it.
Oh yeah. So watch this. This is how we gonna cook on this one. It goes back to that whole social media thing. I'm all for that. Like my post, share my post. When I post now on socials, I sometimes just post. I'm not scrolling. So unless you send me something, I'm not gonna see what it is you're posting, right? Because I use this as a tool where I post and I put down, right? If you see me share anything, it's because it's something of a concept that I believe in. You see what I'm saying? But with that being said, instead of using social media, and this is going to be something I'm going to tell people. If you got creators in your life, pour into them. Pour into them. Come from social media, because social media is just, again, is an illusion, sorry. But just pick up that phone. Send that voice note. Not text, send that voice note or get on the phone. Hey, listen, I'm proud and I see what it is you're doing. How can I help alleviate anything that you've got going on? I may not have a lot of time, but what is it you need from me? How do you want me to show up for you? Do that with your creator friends.
Bro, I will go a little further.
Okay, let's go.
I will go a little further and say, when you have creative friends, show them some support. Yeah, comment on the videos and stuff. But sometimes just set each transfer $50. Say, yo, I see what you're doing.
Jeez.
You know?
Oh boy.
Sometimes just each transfer a little $20. Say, yo, I see what you're doing, bro. I don't have much, but I was going to spend it on going to buy bottles anyway. You know, I was going to try to impress this girl anyway, but I see what you're doing, bro. And I know it's a lot of time that you don't get paid for.
Jeez.
I see what you're doing.
Oi.
You know, like simple things like that. Like I have one of my boys, bro. This guy, bro. And I never said this in public before, but he pays for my Premiere Pro, bro. It started with him allowing me to use it, and he stopped using it. But whenever I have money, I'll send it to him. But if I don't, he'll be like, you know,
man, that's good. I like that.
So if you have friends that you that creative and you actually believe, bro, and no offense to nobody, and I don't mean friends who's like, oh, I do, for lack of a better example, music, but I drop in one track every 2 months. I talk about somebody, oh, I do music, and you see them dropping every single day they post, and you see them working hard. Send them a little $100, bro. Say, yo, I don't have much, bro, but I would spend it on dumb shit anyway. Take whole 100. That's just for you, bro.
It's funny you say that, because I remember it was around my birthday, and someone in my community, I like pro wrestling, right? I'm a pro wrestling guy still, right? It's never gonna leave me. And someone in my community actually bought me a ticket to Elimination Chamber in Toronto. The time when John Cena turned heel and all this. You know how much that ticket was, bro? A lot of money. Okay? But when the person reached out to me, they said, it's because I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I want to see you happy.
Exactly.
And I said, don't think I don't forget about that.
No, bro.
Because now I'm like, that was such a big time gesture that I know that I will repay that back, but within the time I need to repay it back into. So I love that you say that $50 or even just like anything.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? And I understand we're in Canada, so it's different. We only got PayPal. You could wire transfer this and that. You maybe have someone in NY or something, or, you know, wherever they are in the world and stuff. Just, if you don't even want to send them money, but okay, listen, this is for lunch.
Yeah.
Go take yourself to lunch.
Yeah.
Go take yourself to, you know what I mean? Just something to show appreciation.
Yeah, bro.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. Because, bro, like this is a serious topic too. Because like as a creator, bro, like bro, I thank God so much, and it's all these things that I spoke about and that actually helped me in my journey with God recently. And it's like I thank God so much for who He has around me and the people that He put in my life to be like to the point where it's like, oh, you need this, because at the blink of an eye, bro, I would do it. Like my favorite Kanye West line is, "My wife said I can't say no to nobody, and at this rate, we going both die broke," you know. And and it's true. As bro, most creatives are so given, bro. Like you could call them. I don't know about all. You could call them right now and say, "Yo, I could borrow your last $100," and they will give you, bro, because that's why we create. We create for you. You know, like it's all output, it's all outward energy, it's all taking all these negative stuff and putting this out so you could enjoy life. It's all us being like how we could serve you to help you, you know. And once in a while, it'd be good for creators to be like, "Oh yeah, that's my boy. Hold $50." And this is a topic that most creators would never talk about, because at the same time we have this ego to the point where a creator would never ask. You know, he would just hope that someone shares. You know, and as I say, thank God I'm in a place where I could do better for myself, you know, because I have the barbershop and stuff. But given the economy now, I could imagine how hard it is. And just to have people be like, "Oh yeah, you know, sometimes it's just good, let's buy a shirt. Say, yo, put your name on a shirt, let me buy it from you."
Right.
You know, like help them. Be like,
bro,
yo,
I have so much equipment in my yard, like podcast equipment. And there's a project that I'm working with someone else right now where I'm just like, you know what, like even if it's like a mic, like one of them standalone like mics, you know what I mean? Just to be like, hey, like, listen, what's your address? Let me send you this. If you want to start your podcasting journey, you have the cable plug, all of that. It's a start.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And it's not about what I gain back. And what we're saying here, we're not talking about tit for tat. Well, if I did this, you're going to do this for me. No, nothing I said today is about tit for tat. It's about just opening your mind and showing a different perspective.
And just watching.
Right?
Just looking like, bro, I'll tell you this story. And I will try my best not to let tears will come to my eyes, because to me it's something that, like, a lot of the times in life, bro, you put your heart out there and you hope people see. The people that you hope sees the most are your kids, right? And so like yesterday we went to the mall and I see my daughter whispering to my wife, and then my wife was like, "Okay, you take the boy and we're gonna meet you guys back." And then my daughter comes and she has a brand new Vans. Like she heard me say I wanted to buy Vans couple. She and she's smiling. She's like, "Yeah, I know that. I just wanted to buy you a shoe because I see that you work hard."
What?
My daughter is 6, bro. She's gonna be 7.
Damn.
And in the mall, she made me like lace up the shoe and everything. And she's like, "Does the size fit?" And it was a size too big. It was like, but I would never return it.
Yeah.
You know, I would never return it. I would never, you know. And she was so proud.
Yeah.
But deep down to me, it was like, all these things that you do and the things that people don't see, they see. You know, they see and they learn. More than they see, they learn and they understand when things need to happen.
Facts.
And when things need to keep moving, right?
Facts.
So she would have seen, You know, but she knows my heart, bro. She knows my heart. She knows that I would never go and buy a shoe for myself when I have kids.
Jesus. I feel it, bro.
You know, even if I have,
embrace it,
even
my
if
guy.
I have money, but if I have money, I wouldn't go buy shoes for myself. No, not hardly ever you'll see me doing that, right?
Yeah.
She's seen it.
She's
seen it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take care of daddy because daddy take care of him." It was it was one of the most. Yeah, and she teaches me so much, bro.
We learn from the youth, bro.
She teaches me so much.
We learn from the youth. I don't have no kids.
No.
I have no kids. And I'll say this right now. Everything's accounted for. You know what I mean? But it's good to see that. You're tearing up. I'm tearing up because you know what this is? It's showing that two things. God is present in here, but what we say and what we do comes back full circle.
Exactly.
Right? It comes back full fucking circle. And what it all comes down to is that we can even learn from the youth. Our own youth can see it.
Yeah. I think the Bible has something that says a child should lead them, would lead them.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, man.
We're kids, bro. Like the first thing she ever taught me, I'll never forget, we went to watch a movie and she would have been like 3. And we would always go watch movies, but this movie in particular, she wasn't sitting. So eventually I took her out to the movie and put her in the car and I was driving home, and her mom when they were there, she was screaming, crying. And then she was crying on the drive, then she goes quiet. And I hear this soft voice on my back and she's like, "Daddy, when you took me out to the movie, it really hurt my feelings." You know? This was the first, before, bro, I never learned of emotions and these kind of things, you know? I grew up with boys and a mother who had to try to be the best father that she could be, you know? So we was never really in tune with emotions and hugging and stuff. And she's like, when you took me out to the movies, it really hurt my feelings. And then I thought for a second, I'm like, bro, it's not about you. It's not about what we feel or what we want to do or what we think is right or what we think is wrong. You know, like you have your people come and saying, "Oh yeah, your kids should do this, your kids should do that." Nobody knows what's best for your kids, bro. You know, nobody. No, if we had perfect kids, they would be perfect. If we had perfect parents, they'd be perfect humans. Facts. And nobody perfect, bro.
Facts.
So that means that everybody did dumb shit with the kids.
Of course.
And trying to come and tell you how to avoid their dumb shit. You know, let the kids be kids, you know, and you learn so much more from them. You develop the heart of a child, and then you realize that everything is about giving.
Yeah.
Every single thing is about giving.
Bro, listen, there's too much BS in the world right now. There's too much. The world needs to heal.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for the world to heal, everyone else has to heal. And what you're speaking to, it's so powerful because kids, your children are going to shape everything that's going on when we're no longer here. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not promised tomorrow. Like, not to make this a whole morbid thing, but like, just in the last month, there's been a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Just of other folks that I know. And it's just, again, intention and this presence being there. But it's just like showing at the end of the day is that like, we got to do more togetherness because the way the world's going is trying to rip away a lot of the things. It's trying to break up the family nucleus because of these different social modalities when it comes to this bullshit in the world agenda. You see what I'm saying? Versus it's just like, there's just so much war and there's so much just this BS that a lot of people gotta just kind of go back into themselves. Find those moments, right, y'all? Find those moments and just pick up that phone and just say to someone, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking about you. Let's connect." Maybe it's that person you haven't talked to in, a couple months. "Hey, how you been?" Send a voice note. Bro, I'm the king of voice notes, I'm the king of voice notes. You saw it in the DM, like I said, because that's like, I want to get the point across.
Yeah, quick, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's faster to do that than like pressing text information and stuff like that. But it's just like, we got to reconnect with our one another, right? For my folks out there, and I speak a lot about relationships. I'm not the relationship guru. I'm not Kevin Samuels, but I've been through a lot that I can tell this to. It's like, just find that time, even just be like, yo, it could be dinner. It could even be driving in the car, going for that walk. How am I showing up for you this week? And you'd be surprised the answer you're going to get. How am I showing up? A lot of people are not, wait, how are you showing up for me? They got to think. But when you do that, you'll be able to get sense of what's going on. And it's like, I'm not saying you do it every day. How am I showing up for you? How am I showing up for you? But as anybody in life, just say, how am I showing up for you? And what is it you need from me? Because that is what's going to simply sit here and continue to keep the tightness. I always say this before we close out this podcast. You need people in your life that are going to be the 1, the 3, and the 5, as you're the 2, the 4, and the 6. Because when you put it together, it's a well-oiled machine and it's a puzzle.
I think that was a strong one to end on, actually.
Brother, we're going to do this again or no?
Yeah.
We're going to do this again. Trust me.
We have to, bro. Because there's so much more layers to peel back, and yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, bro.
I told you, before we actually end this, like, when I'm the host of the Mitchell Report Unleashed podcast, when I'm the host, it's a lot different because you don't get this. You don't get this because I got to do more listening and more chiming in when I'm ready. Exactly. But when I sit on these spaces, I make sure very intentional with what I'm saying. And I know this is what people want. People want this. They want it. They want it. They want it. I know I gotta start getting back into some solo episodes, because them solo episodes are gonna give those actionable tips. So I appreciate you. It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
But we're gonna bring you on the show.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
gonna give you home court advantage. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let you sit right there, and I'm just gonna ask the questions. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm here, bro.
Yeah, man. Brother, let's go, man.
Anytime you're ready, I'm here, bro. And you're right around the corner for me too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You know how it is, man.
Yeah, bro. So, but before we close that, you could I don't know if you want to shout out yourself, like where people could find you.
Yeah, listen, it's really easy, man. What are we just gonna do? Mitchell Report Unleashed podcast. That's it. Mitchell Report Unleashed podcast. It's easy. You know what I mean? That's what's on YouTube. Instagram was what? Officially Rory. It is what it is. I'm gonna plug the hell out of this. You know what I mean? To the community, share it on everywhere, my LinkedIn, my Facebook when it drops, everything like that. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if you get 1 listen, you get 1 million listens. Yeah, let's push it out, man.
Bro, is the one listen I care about. Before we go and on this, there was a guy who came into the shop yesterday and he told me, he's like, where he's living, the landlord is an old lady, and she came up to him yesterday, a couple of weeks ago, and said, "Oh, I heard your story on a podcast." He's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, she just been listening to the podcast. This little old lady, and she heard his story. She didn't even. That's his landlord. They never even spoke, and that's the kind of things that I live for. I everyone comes to the barbershop and they say, "Oh, you just need us to say one crazy thing to go viral," and that's it. And I'm like, that's not my brand. I don't want to go viral. Like would I like to? Of course, everybody will.
Everybody wants to go viral.
But for the right thing. I don't want to go viral for saying something that could hurt people or could break people. We're not here for that, bro.
Oh, there might be a viral. I know there's few viral moments in here that people are going to be like,
yeah, exactly.
Is he talking to me? No, I'm not. This is the thing here about podcasting, what I tell people about media. You're going to see this as well. I'm going to give you your flowers. When you keep doing this as reps, people will easily get misunderstood. They'll misunderstand you.
Yeah.
And the reason why they'll misunderstand you because it all depends on where they're at in their life. And sometimes I heard my grandfather say this, don't watch them. You get paid to do a job and do it to the best of your ability because the right people will find you. Dead ass.
Yeah, I think that was the ending. That one was better. That one was better. That's how you end. That's how you end.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, see Bad Boys?
Yeah, man.
That's how you shoot.
That's how you shoot, man. That's how you shoot, bro.
Yeah, no. We good. But yeah, bro, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming on, bro. And
yeah, man.
Yeah, hopefully we can connect some more.
Yeah, bro. Whenever.
Yeah.
I'm here, man.
Yeah, bro.
Right, guy, listen. I hope that's what you wanted.
Yeah.